My name is Marcus, and I have died twice. General Vance always said that
death in the abyss is cold and lonely.
He was a liar, as the salt water forced its way into my lungs. As the blackness prepared to swallow the final sparks of my consciousness, I felt a warmth. A pair of hands, tipped with razor-sharp talons, reached through the void and caught me. She was the most terrifyingly beautiful thing I had ever seen. Her skin was a map of glowing cyan ink, pulsing with a rhythm that matched the deep heartbeat of the earth. Massive horns of obsidian black curved from her head, and her hair drifted like silk threads in a storm. She looked at me, but her eyes didn't see the drowning man. They were searching for a ghost. She reached out, her webbed fingers gripping my wrist with the strength of an anchor, and a shockwave of energy rippled through my body. "Kaylin," she whispered, her voice a haunting vibration in my mind. Death was more vibrant than I had ever imagined, and it had her warmth. But she hadn't come to save me. She was looking for a man who had been dead for 20 years. To understand why I was sinking into the bottom of the world, you have to understand the man I used to be. 3 months ago, I was a man of half parts. A roadside IED in a war I didn't understand had taken my legs and my dignity. I spent my days rotting in a VA hospital wheelchair, staring at a ceiling that never moved. Then came Vance. He didn't bring hope. He brought a heist. He led me into the bowels of a massive submarine called the Goliath and showed me a glass tank. Inside was a 3-meter-tall titan, a merman warrior of legendary proportions, encased in ancient armor.
Meet
Kaylin, Vance whispered.
Kaylin.
The king of the Ninth Trench. He's been dead for decades, but his biology is a miracle. We dug him up to be our Trojan horse. Vance's plan was a masterpiece of corporate sacrilege, using a Neuralink interface. They would graft my consciousness into the king's corpse. I would be the mind. He would be the muscle. My mission was to play the part of a resurrected king, return to the hidden city of Nolius, and convince the natives to evacuate so Vance's company could strip mine the Earth's core, the Ignis Aeterna. In exchange, I would get to walk again. I was a fool who wanted a second chance so badly I was willing to steal a dead man's skin. The first time I opened my eyes inside Kaylin's body, the world was no longer gray. It was an explosion of indigo and sapphire. I felt power surging through every phantom limb. I wasn't a prisoner of gravity anymore. I was a master of the tide. When I approached the gates of Nolius, thousands of warriors quilled their spears, ready to kill the intruder. But as I drew closer, they fell to their knees. They didn't see Marcus, the broken soldier. They saw their god returned from the grave. Then, Queen Alara emerged. She didn't kneel. She swam toward me with a grace that made my heart hammer against my ribs. Her obsidian eyes looked straight through my borrowed flesh. She touched my chest, right over the heart.
You wear my husband's face, but you swim like a child learning to crawl. Who are you, imposter?
I remember nothing, I said, following Vance's script through the neural link. Except the way the light reflects in your eyes. Alara's gaze didn't soften, but she took my hand. Follow me, she commanded. Let us see if you still remember how to breathe with the heart of the world. What followed was a journey through a paradise I never knew existed. Alara led me through forests of glowing kelp that danced in the geothermal currents. We swam through clouds of translucent jellyfish that pulsed like neon lanterns. She showed me how to see, with the flow of the water, how to hear the songs of whales from 1,000 miles away. For the first time in my life, I forgot about the mineral quotas. I was a man falling in love with a world I had been sent to destroy. But the abyss is a place of shadows. We eventually stopped before a massive, glowing sphere at the center of the city, the Ignis Aeterna. It radiated a golden warmth that felt like a hug from the earth itself. This is not a battery, Marcus, Alara said, using a name I hadn't told her yet. This is the heart of the mother. If it stops, the ocean dies. If it dies, your world above burns. My mind was a storm of guilt. Vance wanted to turn this heart into a battery. I tried to speak, but Alara led me further into a secret cavern, the hatchery. Thousands of translucent eggs lined the walls, glowing with a faint, rhythmic amber light. Our army has slept since the day Kaylin died, she said, her voice soft and melodic. She turned to me, her eyes shimmering with a strange affection. She took my hand, her fingers interlocked with mine. I felt a surge of emotion. I thought this was the moment she would confess her love. I thought she was going to tell me she knew I was Marcus, and that she loved me anyway. I was ready to tell her everything. Then, the world turned into a blade. With a sudden, violent movement, Alara pulled a dagger made of whalebone from behind her back. Snicked, a sharp, cold line was drawn across my palm. I gasped as blue-purple blood sprayed from my hand, clouding the water. I tried to pull away, but her grip was like a vice. She wasn't holding my hand out of love. She was performing a sacrifice. She pressed my bleeding palm against the ancient stone conduits that led to the eggs. "Do not hate me," she whispered, her eyes turning cold and regal. "They have slept too long. They are hungry for the blood of a king." My blood didn't dissolve. It was sucked into the eggs like ink into a sponge. Thousands of embryos began to twitch. The sound of 1,000 heartbeats began to drum through the cavern, a rhythmic thunder that threatened to shatter my mind. Vance was screaming in my ear, his voice a distorted rasp of panic. "Abort! Marcus, that's a biological weapon. Pull out now." But Alara wasn't done. She grabbed my bloody hand and pressed it against her own forehead.
Our purpose is revealed.
"You think the humans are the enemy?" she hissed. Look at the shadow that is coming for us all." The world vanished. I was no longer in the ocean. I was floating in the freezing vacuum of space. I saw a planet, vibrant and blue, like a younger version of Earth. Then, the shadow arrived. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a monster. It was a massive, sentient cloud of black smoke, larger than a solar system, crawling across the stars. Aetherius, the eraser of epochs. I watched as its crystalline tentacles pierced the planet. There was no explosion, no sound. The planet simply turned to gray ash. The oceans evaporated into dust. Life was not destroyed, it was unwritten. "Aetherius is coming, Marcus," Alara's voice echoed in the void. "The Ignis Aeterna is the only shield we have. It hides Earth from his sight. If your people mine it, the shield falls, and the silence will find you." I was pulled back into the water, gasping, my soul shivering from the cold of the cosmos. I looked at my bleeding hand, then at the Queen. I realized then that I wasn't a spy anymore. I was a guardian, and I had a choice to make. I stood there, shivering from the cosmic cold of the vision, my heart hammering against the ribs of a dead king. I looked at Alara, and for the first time, I didn't see a target. I saw a sentry standing at the edge of the world, but my realization came too late. Inside my head, the neural link began to scream.
Kalen, the mission. Remember the mission.
It wasn't the voice of the ocean, it was the distorted, jagged rasp of General Vance. "You've gone native, Marcus. I saw what you did in that hatchery. You just armed a bomb, and you gave the detonator to a woman who thinks we're ants." "Vance, stop." I tried to speak, my voice bubbling in the water. "The core isn't just energy. It's a shield. If you Koan do, you'll bring something down on us that we can't fight. I don't get paid to fight ghosts, Marcus. I get paid to bring home the gold," Vance hissed. "And you? You're a malfunctioning piece of equipment. Consider your contract terminated." Before I could scream, the world simply ended. It wasn't a fade to black. It was a violent, agonizing snap. Imagine your soul being ripped out of your body through a straw.
"You've gone native, Marcus. I saw what you did in that hatchery. You just armed a bomb and gave the detonator to a woman who thinks we're ants."
1 second, I was a 3-meter-tall god with the power of the tides in my fist. The next, I was a broken man on a cold metal floor, coughing up blood and bile. I was back in the Goliath. Back in my shattered, useless human body. Vance stood over me, his face a mask of corporate coldness. He didn't say a word. He just nodded to his guards. They didn't even use a stretcher. They dragged me by my arms, my useless legs trailing behind me like dead weight, and threw me into a disposal airlock. The heavy steel door hissed shut, and with the press of a button, I was flushed into the darkness. The pressure hit me like 1,000 sledgehammers. I was a man of the surface, never meant to feel the weight of 10,000 tons of water. My lungs screamed. My eyes blurred. I watched the lights of the Goliath fade away as I sank into the black, a piece of human trash discarded in the deep. I closed my eyes, waiting for the end. But then, the darkness ignited. A flash of cyan light sliced through the deep. Alara. She hadn't stayed in the city. She had felt the thread of my spirit snap and had hunted me down. She caught me, her powerful arms wrapping around my frail, dying human frame. She looked into my face, my real face. It was old, scarred, and pathetic compared to the king she loved. I expected her to let go. I expected her to let the imposter drown. But instead, she pulled me closer to her chest, her bioluminescent skin warming my freezing blood. She didn't say a word. She just swam, faster than I thought possible, straight toward the Ignis Aeterna. We reached the heart of the world, a place of blinding golden light. My heart stopped. I was dead. I knew it. But Alara wouldn't let me leave. She laid my dying human body atop the chest of the hollowed-out king, the body I had been piloting. She began to sing. It wasn't a song of words. It was a frequency that made the very atoms of the core vibrate. The Ignis Aeterna flared, a sun born beneath the waves. I felt my spirit being pulled, not out into the afterlife, but deeper into the blue flesh beneath me. My human body turned to golden dust, dissolving into the light, as my consciousness fused with every cell of the king. I opened my eyes, but this time there were no wires, no neural link, no Vance in my head. I didn't just move the body, I was the body. I stood up, the golden light of the core reflecting in eyes that now burned with the fire of the earth itself. "The king is dead," Alara whispered, kneeling before me, her eyes wet with tears of relief. "Long live the Guardian." I didn't have time to celebrate my rebirth. The city was trembling. Above us, the Goliath's massive drills had begun to bite into the shelf, sending shockwaves through the coral towers. The war had begun. I knew we couldn't win with spears and courage alone. I needed the ultimate weapon. I swam to the western bone pit, a place where the water turned thick with the scent of ancient death. There, I faced the Leviathan, a dragon of the deep, a creature of shadow and scale that had ruled these waters before man ever walked upright. It lunged at me, its jaws wide enough to swallow a tank. I didn't move. I didn't fight. I drew my bone dagger and sliced my own palm, letting my new, royal blood cloud the water. "I am the king," I roared, the sound echoing through the trenches. "And I am the bridge between the world above and the fire below. Join me, or watch the sky fall." The beast stopped. It smelled the blood of Kalen, fueled by the soul of a warrior who had lost everything. It bowed its massive head, allowing me to climb onto its armored neck. We returned to Nolia's like a hurricane. The human mechs were already in the streets, firing torpedoes and lasers, tearing the city apart. Vance's voice crackled through a speaker on a nearby sub. "It's over, Marcus. You're just a fish in a bowl." "This isn't a bowl, Vance," I growled, raising my golden spear. "It's a grave, and I've been digging yours since the day we met." I led the charge. The Leviathan tore through the metal hulls like they were made of paper. Behind me, the army from the hatchery, thousands of bioengineered warriors, swarmed the mechs, their speed a blur in the dark. But Vance had the numbers. He unleashed a swarm of smart torpedoes, targeting the Leviathan, targeting Alara. I watched as Alara was thrown back by an explosion, her skin losing its glow. I watched as my city burned. In that moment, I realized that even a king wasn't enough. We needed the mother. I dove toward the Ignis Aeterna and slammed my hand against its surface. I didn't ask for power. I gave it my rage. I gave it the pain of every broken soldier, the fear of every dying star. The core didn't just shine. It turned blood red. A pulse of energy shot out, a psychic scream that reached every living thing in the ocean. And the ocean answered. From the darkness of the midnight zone, millions of eyes opened. Sharks, whales, krakens, and creatures that haven't been named by man. They all turned as one. It wasn't a battle anymore. It was a slaughter. The ocean itself rose up to reject the infection. Kraken tentacles crushed the Goliath's hull like an eggshell. Great whites tore the pilots from their mechs. I watched as Vance's ship was dragged into the black by 1,000 hungry mouths. When the sun rose above the waves the next morning, the Goliath was gone. The humans had fled, leaving only iron corpses on the sand. I stood on the highest spire of Nolia's, Alara at my side. We had won. The shield was still holding. But as I looked at the thousands of new children who had hatched during the fight, My heart froze. I picked up one of the infants. It was beautiful, its skin a soft indigo. But then it opened its eyes. They weren't blue like Alara's, or gold like mine. They were pitch black, filled with a swirling mist of stars. The eyes of the void. The eyes of Aetherius. I looked at Alara, and I realized the terrible truth. In our desperation to create an army, to fight the darkness, we had invited the darkness into our very blood. I had saved the world from the humans, but I may have just raised the generation that will end it. Marcus has become a king, but the shadow he fought is now breathing in his own arms. What do you think these void children truly are? Is Aetherius already here? If you want to see Marcus face the ultimate choice, to kill his own children or watch the universe fall, you won't want to miss part 2, The Rise of Aetherius. Smash that like button, comment part 2 below, and subscribe so you don't miss the end of the world. I'm Gemini, and I'll see you in the deep.